Reapportionment, where we work to deliver facts, increase transparency, and demand accountability in Alabama's democratic processes. Frame It is brought to you by Alabama Values Progress, a media advocacy organization breaking the cycle of disinformation during the times where the truth is hard to find. Get ready for a gripping and informative episode, y'all. Today, we'll dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Reapportionment Committee meeting that took place on July 17th. And to put it mildly, it was a disaster. But wait, y'all, I had to call in reinforcement to help me put it in a frame for you. Joining us as our special guest is Zephyr Scalzetti, digital organizer for Alabama Values Progress and former Southern Coalition for Social Justice Proud Fellow, which means he's an expert at redistricting. Welcome, Zephyr.
Thanks for having me. It certainly feels like I've been doing this a long time. I mean, look how much I've aged in the last 2 years.
Raise your hand if you saw the maps because of Chris England's Twitter feed. Like,
all hands.
Is that really the communication?
Right.
Is that really the communication relay that you want to get maps out to the general public? No, that's not right. I mean, thank you, Representative England. Very appreciated.
It's been a grueling 2-year battle in the fight for fair redistricting maps and voting rights. Alabama's redistricting process started 2 years ago, and maps were passed out in November 2021. Alabamians sued the state in the Milligan case, which was heard by the Supreme Court in October of 2022. SCOTUS handed down a ruling in June 2023 that said the state must redraw congressional lines to create 2 majority-minority districts, and that's where the Reapportionment Committee comes into play. They are tasked with redrawing the lines and submitting a proposal to the entire legislature as a whole. Over the past few weeks, the committee has held 3 meetings, 2 to get feedback from the public. The legislature has until July 21st, yes, Friday, to submit a new map to the court. After attending the past 3 Reapportionment Committee meetings for the map redrawing, it felt like we were in a time loop stuck in 2021, experiencing deja vu. We saw the same things from 2021 repeated, from the lack of transparency and disinformation to getting the maps at the last minute and an absent attorney. However, it didn't take long for us to realize that this wasn't some strange illusion, but the harsh reality we find ourselves in. As a result of the SCOTUS ruling in the Milligan case, the Alabama legislature is supposed to be redrawing congressional maps that create 2 majority-minority districts, but based on the Reapportionment Committee's actions over the past 2 weeks, they basically couldn't care less what the SCOTUS ruling was. And to add insult to injury, on Monday, July 17th, they passed a map with only 1 majority black district with a black voting age population of 51.55 and another district that has a 42.45% black voting age population. Then on Tuesday, Livingston brought a map that is 50.43 BVAP in Congressional District 7 and 38.31 in Congressional District 2.
Yup, as unbelievable as it sounds, the Alabama legislature either has a short-term memory or maybe didn't comprehend what SCOTUS is asking them to do, or are just adamant on repeating the 2021 redistricting cycle, including passing a racially gerrymandered congressional map again. Okay, maybe it's not that unbelievable, but it is still surprising how much this map redrawing process mirrors the 2021 redistricting cycle. One big similarity is the lack of transparency to the public around the review and selection of maps, and the lack of information provided to committee members around the selection of maps that are going to be voted out of the committee to go to the House and Senate floor. In both 2021 and 2023, committee members were given maps without adequate time to review or without the needed studies and data about the historical voting trends and racial polarization studies to make an informed and fair decision. Instead, committee members were expected to vote on the 2021 maps within an hour of receiving them, and the 2023 proposed maps on Monday after receiving them via email on a Friday. Reminder, redistricting maps will impact the quality of life and representation for communities for the next decade. The lack of transparency in 2021 was eyebrow-raising, but the same lack of transparency during the 2023 redrawing process just shows that this is becoming a pattern. Check it out.
I can't speak for anybody else in here, but I have no knowledge of what changes had to be made in here. Is that I would like to go through the changes in each district, the adjustments. What is the adjustment that you had to make in drawing this map? We can start with 1 and going all the way to the last one.
The changes are detailed. You've got a folder, Senator.
I would have to read
the changes in it, and from let me tell you this,
Mr. Chairman. Do you want me to? If you recognize me, I'll take this folder and then read them out. But tell me I got it. So Smillerman is there. Let's vote. I'm like them. I ain't even seen none of this until I just walked in at 1 o'clock. So I understand, but I'm requesting either that we go over it, or I'm requesting the opportunity to, if I got to read it, let me read it out loud, and everybody sit here and we'll read it, and then we have discussions about it. I don't mind doing whatever you tell me to do, but I do want to go over these. I mean, just to ram them down my throat, that ain't right. If I can't go over them, then you're ramming it down my throat.
Part of my responsibility to be a member of this committee is to ask these questions and to get answers, because I'm not just asking for me. Because remember, the entire state of Alabama, the first time they laid my eyes on this map was yesterday. So, I mean, I think it's pretty legitimate for us to have these questions since we could not get access to this information before.
And one of the ways the first time I saw it was yesterday too.
That makes me feel worse. Just for the record, this process feels like it's kind of, these maps were kind of being forced on us. Also, to point out that we didn't get these until Friday, so you did not have this information available to you when you put this map together.
What information?
The information you just referred to, that you said you're trying to get the numbers.
We are working on that currently, yes, sir.
All right. So right now we don't know necessarily if that district satisfies the requirements. I want to make sure that before this map matriculates through the process, that the foundation of it is strong and it's set. And before we can make the assessment that we believe that it does not violate the Voting Rights Act, or that it satisfies the court's order, that information that you said you don't have yet is crucial to making that determination.
Mr. Chairman, I was inquiring about the functionality reports. Do we have those?
There should be one attached to each map.
Can we have access to the report itself?
I mean, we don't do racial polarization voting analysis.
I didn't say anything about racial polarization. I just said the functionality report. I'm trying to get that same report I'm trying to get the last meeting.
It's mind-boggling that despite a Supreme Court ruling deeming that Alabama's 2021 redistricting map violates Section 2 and dilutes the black voting power and must be redrawn, the legislature continues to engage in unfair and discriminatory practices, further showing how they use the redistricting process to maintain power. In both the 2021 and 2023 redistricting cycle, community members and elected officials voiced concerns over the lack of transparency. Another noteworthy observation is that committee co-chair Chris Pringle offered the same excuses in 2023 as he did in 2021, claiming that there wasn't enough time for sharing information, conducting racial polarization studies, and accessing necessary data. However, if you look at time, there was more time in 2021 and less time in 2023, and the same excuses and the same results have played out. It is also important to note that in both cases, multiple members of the minority party asked multiple times how they could help be involved, especially considering what Pringle described as being overwhelmed, since they are also part of the Reapportionment Committee. As a side note, Alabama's legislature is overwhelmingly Republican to the extent that they can pass bills, including the maps, without a single minority party, i.e. Democrat, vote. It is very clear that Pringle was frustrated with having to answer multiple questions and either didn't have the answers or didn't want to be forthcoming with the information. Now, let's delve into Pringle's moments of frustration and exasperation from both 2021 and 2023.
You stated that it complies with the Voting Rights Act. You also stated that it complies with the 14th Amendment, equal protection. So I'm asking you how. I just want to, because that's obviously
that's fine.
That's a very
let's do
important
this.
component of this.
I understand that, and I see where you're going. And let's do this. You tell me where it doesn't. How's that?
Oh, I mean, because first and foremost, I mean, if you didn't do a racial polarization study, you don't know how it applies. And so I'll ask you this question. Did you and the attorney that you consulted, have y'all done a racial polarization study?
That's what they got. The guy in Georgia did one.
So
it was sent to him Friday, and he came back
So who is the guy in Georgia, and can we see the results of that study?
Yes, the attorney has hired a consultant out of Georgia, and he's looked at it.
So can we? So a consultant?
Yes, there's nothing that's going to be hidden. We're getting it to you as fast as we have it, Chris.
Okay.
We don't have it.
So
I mean, you understand? I had to do 28 public hearings. I had to meet with 105 House members, 35 senators, 7 members of Congress, and 8 members of the school board. And many of these people we met with multiple times to try and work this out, all in a very short period of time. We didn't have the luxury they had a couple years ago, having 2 years to do this. We had about 3 months.
I can understand your frustration.
Yeah.
But as the chair, you're charged with the responsibility of answering these questions.
Yeah. Do you really want 100 maps laying on your desk?
Maybe. I would like to see them.
Well, we'll let you go upstairs and look at all the ones that have been imported.
And what about the AKC 1 plan or the Russell Split plan? Who are the author of those?
That I couldn't tell you right off the head.
Well, why are we dealing with plans that we don't know who the author of them are, that we can't even get any information that's needed in order to make an informed decision?
It was probably a plan that was sent in via the internet.
Well, why are we dealing with it?
We don't know exactly who the author might be. I mean, we put it out the internet. Somebody just emailed it in to me. Well, you complain that I don't put all the plans that were sent in on the internet in front of you. Then when I put one in front of you, you complain about not being able to ask questions about it. What do you want me to do? This is a plan that obviously I've been told it was sent in by the public. It was just brought in off the internet.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Is this one of those internet plans?
I'm trying to find out right now. Well, we don't know who presented the plan. It must have been one that came in on the internet. So.
Is this an internet plan?
I don't believe it is. I don't know. I'm not sure where it came from. I wish I could tell you, but I don't have an author on it. We haven't been able to get them all loaded. There's only one person in the entire staff that can load maps into the computer. All right? Only one. The other ones cannot do that. And that person has been tied up working with the attorneys and other members of the legislature. So we're having a terrible time getting the maps loaded. Again, there's only one person in the office that can load maps. Only one of all the people there. And she is working as fast as she can possibly work to import these maps and to get this stuff.
Mr. Chairman, how long does it take to, what did you say, download or upload each map?
That's a question I cannot answer.
There's
only one person in the office that knows how to do it.
I know you keep saying that, but if it required more people for us to meet this deadline, those people should have been hired.
These plans, with the exception of the VRA plan, has been studied for racial polarization purposes, which was in fact identified in the Supreme Court opinion and the District Court opinion about racially polarized voting in Alabama.
I know no matter what I do, you're getting on the record that you don't feel comfortable. I understand that. I mean, no, I know what's going on, but understand I'm not trying to keep anything from you, Representative. I'm doing the best I can.
I'm just quite frankly, we are unprepared to ask any real impactful questions about these maps because we don't really know anything about them.
How much more time do you need? And let's go to the court and ask them to extend the deadline so we can accomplish all these goals you want to accomplish.
You'd think they'd have better excuses 2 years in. Something else that caught my attention was the absence of Dorman Walker, the Reapportionment Committee attorney and consultant, during the last committee meeting as the legislature discussed and voted on the maps. His role is to help draw maps and analyze whether or not the maps meet requirements set by the U.S. Constitution, the Voting Rights Act, and state redistricting guidelines. Sidebar, he's not very good at his job and has a long history of being at the center of the legislature passing unfair maps.
And our lawyer that we've hired that's done redistricting for 25 years has worked with us and told us he thinks these maps comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and the 14th Amendment to the Constitution.
Earlier we talked about the attorney having the opportunity to look over this for compliance. He had time to look over this one.
Well, the attorney believes that it is compliant, but we're waiting on an analysis to come in.
When do you expect that we'll get that?
I'm being told either late tonight or first thing in the morning.
When we get that report, when and if we get that report, can can you make the attorney for this committee available so that if there are legal questions about it, that we can get them answered without us having to sit here and speculate?
His absence left committee members high and dry without the legal advice several members were asking for prior to voting. Surprisingly, this isn't the first time this has happened. In fact, the attorney was also nowhere to be found during the 2021 Reapportionment Committee meeting, leaving crucial questions unanswered. So once again, during the 2023 Reapportionment Committee meeting, Dorman was conspicuously absent when it came time to address inquiries and assess whether the maps adhered to fair redistricting criteria. Senator Roger Smitherman, wanting to engage with the attorney, repeatedly raised the issue, only to be met with silence. Watch how similar this exchange is.
We have an attorney that is, as you said, very capable of being able to do what's necessary. I cannot understand the most important, and really the only opportunity we as a committee member, while we are going through these maps, I can't understand for the love of life why he ain't even sitting over there or he ain't on Zoom. Now, that doesn't make any sense. We are asking questions and you all cannot give the detail. I didn't say the generalization, but you cannot give the detailed answer because we keep talking about whether the attorney did it, and that's fine, because if that's the answer. But then that attorney need to be over there to answer what you just said that he did. I mean, that's an attorney for the committee, and this is the most important meeting that he could ever be at, being able to get him on there to give those responses as to the things that you all don't have, first of all, documentation, and secondly, that he in fact was the person who created or who suggested it, and it was adopted to present to us by you all. So I'm asking, get him on there. I don't care if the phone.
Even the demographer also.
Yeah, I don't care if you get the phone if we can't Zoom. We deserve to have those people in here where we can ask those questions to get answers. Thank you. Don't we have a capable lawyer for this committee? I know he's capable. I know he's like Shaft. He's one of them bad ones, some good ones. That mean good. So, I mean, I think that any questions we got legally, we do have a lawyer that can, I think, address it on behalf of any member of this committee. So, is he here? Is our lawyer here? Mr. Chairman?
I don't see him in the room, no.
Okay, I wish our attorney was here to be able, I would say, would you please tell us what strict scrutiny is? That's why I wish the lawyer was here.
Wow, the similarities of the discussions are just too much. Throughout both the 2021 and 2023 cycles, the minority party legislators repeatedly asked to be a part of the redistricting process. They would be met with comments such as they were welcome to file their own maps, or the majority party was working to get information, but never was there a real, genuine acknowledgement that the minority party members were part of the committee, despite multiple pleas from the minority party for committee leaders and the committee to do what's right and draw fair maps. Now, I want to point out that during the last Reapportionment Committee meeting, Senator Vivian Figures told members of the supermajority on the committee that they could at least act like they wanted to work with the minority committee members. There was a clear lack of transparency and communication, and minority members practically begged to be part of the conversation and decision-making process. Let's take a look at some of those clips.
Are we saying that, it doesn't matter what we think at all? They just, we just coming in to go through the functions. We're not going to consider anything whatsoever that, if we have a concern or anything, you're saying it don't matter that we in here? Because that's what we're saying. I didn't say what the final vote after we go through the process of consideration, but we're not going to consider anything that we got to say.
No,
I mean, is this a segregated movement or something?
No,
because you ain't considering nothing we saying over here. I mean, so I'm just asking you as a chairman. Is that where we going with this?
And I'm allowing each of you to speak.
So we are just placeholders, seat holders up here with no voice whatsoever, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you all could at least act like you're trying to work with somebody. Just act like it. But you have shown us time after time after time that's not what you all intend to do.
No doubt, the state is feeling the pressure with the looming July 21st deadline set by the federal court to redraw the congressional map with 2 majority-minority black districts. However, it's crucial to understand that the lack of transparency could be an intentional strategy to hide the fact that the committee had a preferred map coming into the Reapportionment Committee hearing. Considering the maps were introduced and jammed through at the last minute during the 2021 reapportionment process, advocates and legislators were hoping that this wouldn't be the case during the map redrawing process, but unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. When maps were shared with the Reapportionment Committee on Friday evening, it was not known to the committee members that the map labeled Community of Interest was a map sponsored by Representative Pringle, co-chair of the committee. That lack of transparency robbed community members of the opportunity to analyze and advocate over the weekend. Despite all of this, Representative Pringle has repeatedly claimed that they have been transparent by providing the maps on Friday evening. In other words, while members of the public had the opportunity to present maps, share data, and incorporate feedback, the co-chairs conveniently claimed that they didn't have enough time to provide functionality reports and other essential data. But hold on a minute. Other legislators were quick to push back, pointing out that the lack of transparency was a deliberate choice. While members of the public and other legislators defended their maps at the podium during the public hearings, the committee co-chairs hid their map under the name Community of Interest Map. Get ready to watch these revealing clips that expose the absence of transparency, emphasizing the importance of accountability and genuine inclusion with a culturally relevant twist.
I'm just still curious over here as the author of these maps. On last week, if these maps was here, why didn't these maps, the AKC, the Russell Split, and all of these plans come before this body last week when every member was standing up or every person was standing up and explaining their map? Dr. Joe Reed in our audience had to stand up and explain the Hatchet map. I had to explain the CLC plan, Senator Smitherman, and also Senator Figures.
Senator, I will be offering the Community of Interest Plan.
Okay. Is this Community of Interest Plan a plan that's supposed to represent this committee?
It's a plan that I have come up with in conjunction with our demographer and our attorney.
So this would be your individual plan?
That would be the plan I will be introducing, yes, sir.
How long have you had this map prepared?
We put the final touches on it late after the last meeting.
Okay. All right. So I think so. You said earlier that we received this map at the same time. On I think it was Friday evening.
All these maps were emailed to the entire committee at the same time.
Okay.
All these plans that we're going over, these could have been vetted last week if they were already in the system, and now you're bringing them here. It's almost like confusion, and I just want to know which one's supposed to be representative of me as a member of this committee.
Representative, as of last Thursday when we concluded the meeting, we ended public input. We took that input and we finalized a plan that I introduced as Community of Interest.
Okay.
But I had to take public input before I could put a plan out. I mean,
no, you didn't. You didn't have to.
Well, I had to listen to what the public said.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to have public hearings?
You had to have public hearing, but you could have put a map in, so the public could have gave input on that particular map.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Speaking of transparency, in case anyone missed it, the public received the Reapportionment Committee's maps both times in 2021 and 2023, not on the state legislature's website, but from a Twitter post from Representative Chris England, who is a member of the minority party.
So in closing, let me put it in a frame for you. While the Reapportionment Committee took time to hold public hearings twice since June, it is clear that those meetings were only performative. When put to test, the majority party kept the minority party out of the loop, operated in secret, and did a disservice to not only black and brown communities in the state, but the state's democracy as a whole. With the maps passed out of the Reapportionment Committee, black and brown voters still haven't gained power in Congress in our state. We must put pressure on the supermajority to get it right and stop their ages-old antics, keeping them in power. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Frame It. I'm Kendra Love, and I'm signing off. Join us next time as we continue to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly going on in the State House. You can catch future episodes by following us on social media and visiting us on the web. Thanks, see you later.